everybody. I'm Undrai Fizer, and welcome to another segment of Profoundly Speaking. Another segment of Profoundly Speaking. I pray that you are treating your existence with responsible authority. Yeah, because life becomes better and greater when we treat our existence with responsible authority, when we treat ourselves with diligent responsibility. Blessings, miracles, or power is a result of treating ourselves with responsible dignity. And that's when we begin to see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And so if you want to see God, if you want to see God, if you want to see God, if you want to see the energy and the mind and the love and the power of God, be pure in responsibility. Treat your existence in a way that matters, regardless if you're black or white or whatever your culture. Treat yourself responsibly. Treat love responsibly. And you will see the energy and the laws and the power of God. Because the more we treat ourselves responsibly and with value from an authentic heart, God will appear. The scripture says that how can you hate your brother and love that you see every day and love God that you cannot see? So every week and during the week and in your personal conversations and prayers, we talk about someone we have never physically seen. And there are countless verses, thousands of verses in this book called the Bible. And we live from, good evening, everyone, and we live from words in a book, speaking of someone we have never physically seen. And we talk about loving something unseen. Now, some people have had visitations based on what's in their heart. And we try to configure our life to fit a person whom we've never seen. We've heard him preached countless times. Some of you on this live may have preached about a person you've never seen. You never seen him in the front, you never seen him in the back, you never held him. You've had ideas. You've had ideas about him. You had ideas. You could kind of live according to the idea of God. But God says the best way to see him is to love those you see, to love yourself, to treat your existence with dignity, to treat love with dignity. We've seen political and governmental shifts that's rocked through the nation with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And women who are feeling the loss of the right to choose what to do with their bodies. And I've said, if men would have treated women with dignity, no one would be in trouble behind a molestation or a rape or being misused, because a woman cannot impregnate herself. If men would have loved correctly and treated women with value and not pieces to explore with and to play with. If people would have used love responsibly and not lust, which is irresponsible affection. Lust is non-accountable, a non-accountable attraction. Lust is a non-accountable attraction. It's irresponsible love. If we would have loved perfectly, no woman would have to fear being raped or molested or giving up a child or having an unwanted pregnancy. Because when men do right, women will be right. And then with the fruit of that love, the fruit of that love would create God. And there would be no offspring that's illegally brought into the earth or brought into the earth without purpose. And sometimes because we fear responsible existence, we try to create the right to choose between what is right and what we prefer. But the kingdom is always what is right. What is right? What is responsible? And when we treat ourselves, I'm not here to talk about the government, but when we treat our lives and our existence right, without a shortcut, when we treat it right, and we don't have to ask, well, what is right? Let me tell you something. Every child born, every kid that when he or she is an infant, has a built-in consciousness, and every child knows when they're doing something out of line, even when you never taught them what the line was. When I saw my children reaching for the outlet, something in them told them, even though they were curious, something told them, because when I saw my children about to stick their finger in the outlet, they would look over their shoulder to see who was looking at them, because it's built. See, God is built into consciousness. God is not just a figment of physical presence to see, but God is a consciousness of awareness, a consciousness to sense. Write that down, please. God is a consciousness to sense. And whenever you saw the kid about to stick their finger in something, they looked back because something told them, there was curiosity is neither wrong nor right. It's the consequence that produces the wrong or right or the uncomfortable. Curiosity is neither wrong or right. It's curiosity is a guess. I wonder if there is no sin, and I wonder if, but it's the consequences of what you find out after curiosity, which determines, is this something you want to live with or not? And so when we see God through consciousness, through how we first handle our personal responsibility, our own purity, our own responsible handling of our existence. I was telling my wife something like that this morning. And I was thanking God for a lot of great results that have come from choices. And I said, wow, tomorrow I got to get ready to go back to treatment. I said, I love the weekend. She said, you sound like folks who work for a living. And I said, wow, I remember before my shift in my health, I lived every day as though I was on vacation. I didn't have a sense of time. I just lived. And sometimes when a person wants to work for themselves, they're not wanting the responsibility of regulation. They'll want to be free from accountability. See, a lot of our desires are carnal and lustful. Most of our desires may be true, but how we achieve them is lustful. We want to be free of the responsibility and the the disciplinary accountability that will produce the focus, which will make things happen. And so I said, I remember when I was always working for myself, but I had no boundaries of time. So therefore, I wasted most of the resources I earned because my resources were not spoken for by a certain time. If you understand what I'm saying, raise your hand, which means if you make money that's not earmarked for a certain responsible duty, you will mess up that money and you will find yourself reprioritizing your resources, and it'll leave you in poverty, even though you're making the money, even though you're bringing it in, whether you're on your job or working for yourself. If it's not connected to a responsible duty, you are just wasting time. So some people would say, I want to work for myself. But if you work for yourself without a schedule and without boundaries and without regulation, you're just wasting freedom. And so now that I'm on dialysis, my days are spoken for. My off days are spoken for. And when Friday comes, I'm like, man, I can't wait. Oh God, I thank God for the weekend. But now my resources are not wasteful because my hours are spoken for and I'm living responsibly. Therefore, I see a surplus because I'm not wasting time. Because when you waste time, you waste resources. When you waste time, you waste resources. Wasting time will waste resources. And so if you want to see God, whom you cannot see with your eyes, treat you responsibly and you will see God in it. Treat your existence responsibly. Treat your existence as though it has a schedule, as though it has meaning. And don't allow lust to be the bargaining power of life. Because really, when we mishandle freedom, we really want lust. Because most people feel if I become a believer or if I connect to the God rule, I won't be able to, will it take me from having fun? To some of us, fun is wasting time. To some of us, fun is to exist without a consequence. It's to exist lusting, which is to take advantage of responsible love and live a life of irresponsible love, which leads to lust or companionship without commitment and just testing the waters. So many fear living holy because they fear responsible loving and responsible living. If you understand what I'm saying, raise your hand. And so how we look at freedom determines the motivation of the heart or the core of who we are. If you want to see God, look at the core of how you choose to exist. If you want to see God, look at the core of how you handle freedom. How you handle freedom. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. But it says, how can I love God whom I have not seen, but I hate my brother who I see every day? How can I love what I've never seen with all my heart? Well, how do you love yourself with all of your heart? And do you treat yourself responsibly or with lust? If I treat the love of myself as lust, it means I'm irresponsible with my existence. I want a flexible responsibility. I'm with myself conditionally based on preference and based on convenience. And so I would treat others from that same way. If I'm making sense, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? How responsible am I handling freedom, which is God? God is love and love is God, not a figment of someone sitting on a chair. And see, when we handle ourselves responsibly and lovingly, we become the children of this energy. We become the offspring of this energy called God, or called Patir, or called Father. We become the children, not of Christianity, not of religion, but the offspring of love. We become the carriers of responsibility, and we become the deliverers, not the savior of mankind, but the deliverer and the facilitator of information which causes responsible living. I'm delivering the news. I'm delivering the good news. How many of you follow what I'm talking about? Responsible living. See, politics and government really didn't take a right. It exposed our heart. It exposed men's responsibility and irresponsibility. It exposed women's irresponsibility. It took away the right to die. It took away, what it did was expose where you really want to live. Because when we have certain rights to choose, we take the responsibility of life away from choice and put it in the hands of chance. Am I making sense? I'm not here to talk about that. But I'm just saying, now it causes men to stop playing with women and putting women in a situation where they have to rid themselves of a destructive behavior that we've put on them. Rape is a destructive behavior. Incest or molestation is a destructive behavior that we've subjected people to. And sometimes the abortion is a way to erase the handiworks of a destructive connection. If we would do right, everything would be right. If I loved myself right, I would not use a woman. I would not allow lust to be the attraction to play with the emotions of someone. And we must thank God and pray God to forgive us for using the emotional realities of a woman just to see if we are fine enough for them, to see, would you take me? Testing and teasing the emotion of the heart of a queen, just to see, would you take me? Promising them relationship just for temporarily touchship. Promising long-term commitment just for a right now feel. The emotional abortion, the emotional pregnancy that we use one another with, the soul ties that we use as a result of not knowing who we are, needing a touch of testosterone, a touch of ego to see how you would like me, using the temperament of women when we don't know ourselves. Oh, forget the government taking away abortion. There is a lot of emotional pregnancies that need to be aborted. There is a lot of consciousness pregnancies that we have produced in the heart of people without ever touching them that need to be aborted. If we knew ourselves, if we would love who we knew, because some of us know what God has created us to be, and we don't love what we were created to be because we want to be something convenient. God has created us to be this energy, this essence. But when we are overwhelmed by the responsibility of who we were created to be, we seek to create ourselves into something convenient. If you understand, lift your hands. I'm trying to recreate. It ain't a matter if I understand who I am. We don't like who we are. It's not a matter, we don't like the sinful part of us. We don't like the responsible, consistent energy that we are, because it goes against our lust. Who we were created to be goes against our own lust to waste time. Who we were created to be goes against our own convenience. It goes against our own lust. I don't want to be perfect. And that's how come when we write or speak, we'll say, you don't have to be perfect. It's just we despise the main thing we should be. Jesus said, be perfect, for my Father is perfect. For your Father is perfect. Be perfect. And the first thing we deny is perfection, because of the consistent responsibility of thinking we rather maintain a watered down version of goodness while still impregnating the minds of other people to see if we're good enough. So there is a lot of things in the mind that need to be avoided. If we would do right, women wouldn't fear. If we would do right, men wouldn't fear. If we would do right, we wouldn't destroy anyone. We talk down perfection. It don't mean be perfect. We give ourselves the flexibility of being imperfect by saying, you don't have to be perfect. Because if I could make room for imperfection for you, I've just made room for imperfection for myself. Which means we can follow it perfectly. We can do it. We can do perfect without changing the definition. We can do it. But do we have enough love to go against the lust of life? If I'm making sense, that's right, you're making sense, sir. When I'm afraid to go against the lust of life, I will deny love, because I don't feel I have the strength to go against the irresponsibility of life. I don't feel I have the strength to defeat lust, which is non-accountable love, which is irresponsible attraction. I don't know if I have the strength for perfect love. Perfect love casts out fear. It says perfect love casts out fear of lack of assurance and double-mindedness. Perfect responsibility casts out fear or double-mindedness or wandering thinking or abused unctions, or it casts out questioning. Perfect love casts out fear, because fear torments. Perfect love is God, not perfect gestures, but responsible living. I'm treating myself to the utmost responsibility. So therefore, I see God in it, not a Christian perspective. Do I have enough love to cast out lust? Do I have enough love to cast out lust, which is inappropriate affection, inappropriate attraction? It's not just between people, it's with life. I want to handle life with a lack of regard. It's handling life irresponsibly. It's gambling with time and living without a reason. It's living without a purpose. It's living a life that does not cause reciprocation. It's wasting of resources. It's wasting time, mental energy, and resources. It's having resources that's not coming back to you. It's wasting my job. It's wasting my talent. It's wasting my gift. It's wasting my education. It's wasting life. Because whatever you love, you do not waste. Whatever you love, you do not waste. Write that on the screen. Whatever you love, you do not waste. Whatever you love, you do not waste. Whatever I love, I will not waste. Lust is irresponsible, non-accountable attraction. It's using emotion to feed us a question in mind. God has already created you to be in. But when you do not love you responsibly, you'll create an alter ego, something in your own hands. God's created you to be God. Oh, but I'd rather be a producer. God's created you to be God. Oh, I'm a writer. God's created you to be God. I'm a singer. God's created you to be God. Oh, I'm a this, I'm that. The first embodiment is to embody love or responsible existence, responsible living. Love has gotten to be so whack, we don't even know what it means. We're living in the world and we don't know what the word means. We're doing grown-up things with words and we don't know what they mean. There is no greater tragedy than to live and don't know why. To be alive and don't know why, and misappropriate words and terms and impregnate the emotions of men and women to see how they respond to you, to see if you still got it. I'm like, got what? When we don't know ourselves, we will abuse other people. An abused man can't help but abuse a woman, no matter how nice he acts. An abused spirit cannot help but abuse another, regardless of how nice we act. Am I making sense to you? So how do we see God? Because we're stumbling over truths. We're living complex lives. We don't know if we're up or down, saved or not. How responsible are you seeking to live? Are you angry? Because you have the right to live as wayward as you desire. But it only reveals the content of our heart. What if there was no heaven to live holy for? What if there was no heaven? And I'm going to be ending this. What if there was no heaven to live right for? Would you still live right? I'm asking a question. What if there was no heaven to live holy for? Would you still live responsibly? Would you still love? What if there was no hell to be tormented in? Would you still live right? Is right only determined by heaven and hell or by love? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm asking? If there was no hell, would you let yourself go and live all the flavors of your wantonness, debauchery, and whatever. But is love still good enough to be love, whether there was a heaven or not? Would you live as God, even if there was no heaven as a reward? Even if there was no eternal judgment as a consequence, that reveals the nature of what we do and why. What I live holy because it was responsible. What if we died and that was it and there was no eternal anything? Is eternity determined why you're doing it? Is a certain eternity, has that determined why you do it? Or is responsibility the motivating factor? Am I making sense? I saw the comments ended right there. I might have stopped everybody. But what if that wasn't? What's the motivating factor for living? When we're children, do we learn about love first or hell? Do we learn about the power of love first or the torments of hell? Is our dial turned toward God based on destruction, or has love of people and responsible handling of humanity the God we need to find? That's interesting, isn't it? Think about it. Hey, for those of you who are registered, Module 4 begins Tuesday at 7, 8 o'clock Eastern, and 5 o'clock Pacific. Hey, check out the app, Fizer Interglobal. There's a lot of updates on their blogs, mission statements, contact, what's new for those who are new to Kairos. It'll let you know what we're about and things like that. There's a lot of different updates. And check out the latest podcasts, Do Work in this progressive life. Because if we're going to be a blessing of responsibility, it's imperative for us to make sure that our solutions actually solve problems. So I hope you were blessed with this conversation today. Like I said, even though I ran for political office, this isn't a political thing, it's a heart thing. We've put our lives in the hands of rights for so long till we forgot how to be absolute lovers. We've forgotten how to be what we were born to be, which is responsible human beings. Because if I live responsible, I don't endanger anybody. So the law has put it back in your hands to live responsible. Am I angry that I have to be responsible? Yeah. Hey, if there is an offering that you want to invest in, so into today's truth and work, feel free to sow according to your heart, spirit, and heart's desire. I'm a Fizer. I love you much, man.